All right, well, right out of the gate, I'm gonna apologize for my hair. I've been working for the last 2 hours, putting all of the mess from this build site in that pile. As I'm the general contractor now, my job is now officially, I'm just a trash man. So that's fun. Anyways, I'm sure you guys are all here for the update on the framing contractor who put up this structure that you see behind me, which is supposed to be a finished house, which is obviously not a finished house. It's a whole mess. Anyways, this contractor stole $64,000 from me. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But because I signed a contract, there were legal hoops that I had to jump through to be able to terminate that contract. We crossed that last legal threshold last night at 10:04 p.m. I sent him a notice of default, which basically said, you're in default on the contract because these headers on these big window openings back here are not up to code. The base plate under the sill right back there is not pressure treated. That's not up to code. All the anchors along the bottom of the walls are not spaced as they need to be, and so therefore they are not up to code. I found a process server that happened to know where this guy lived, because I didn't even know where this guy lived, and if you can't find where the guy lives, like, how are you even going to serve him? So we got him served with that notice. Again, a week prior to this most previous Monday, so 13, 14 days ago. And so he had, per the letter of our contract, he has 10 days to cure that default. So I didn't hear anything back. Not a call, not a text, not an email, absolutely nothing. And I just figured he was gonna let the 10 days run out. But as I mentioned previously, I have a camera out there, and I get a notification on my phone at, I don't know, around 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday. I can see a guy in the corner drilling and setting anchors, and I was like, that can't be my new framing contract, that must be the old guy's. But I wasn't sure, and I couldn't tell who it was based on the video. I hopped in my car and I drove out here because I need to know what's going on, and I haven't heard anything from the guy that's supposed to be fixing the defaults. And to be honest, I didn't want him to fix the defaults. I had to give him every opportunity to fix those defaults and stay in the contract, and he chose to squander that opportunity. He did not fix the defaults. But I came out here and I talked to him. And what he didn't know is I recorded that conversation. Here's a couple of highlights from that conversation where you can see him talking about some of the key things here. Okay, what about these trusses?
These trusses don't need anything.
Well, these trusses are fine. These are the ones that
Those trusses don't need anything. There's no fractures. You only have to have an engineering stamp on a fractured truss. There's no fractures in any of these timbers. None of them. We put these on here just because we wanted to add the bracing because they fell. But the anchors weren't finished being put in anyway, so, I mean, as far as that goes.
It's the board at the bottom is my bigger concern there, though.
With what?
As far as it rotting out, and because it's not a treated board.
So we spray treat everything, which we do everywhere. So on everything, gets all sprayed. It all gets copper coat. And it's not just the base, or it's not just the boards, the base either. We come up 16 inches from the boards with our copper coat. So, and those getting swapped out, I could have argued that with your inspector too, but you're talking about a couple of pieces of lumber and a little bit of time. It's only required if there's not a top and bottom case plate to have a 2x8.
So he sent me the section of code that calls for it. Because it's a load-bearing wall, because these trusses are as long as they are, it's got to be at least, I think it's a 2x8 is the minimum.
And you bring somebody else out to look at anybody's project, and then 7 out of 10 of them are gonna
sure
pull 50 things to try and grab a check from you.
Now, to the point about the trusses not being broken. The trusses are broken. And here's a couple of pictures of what those trusses look like broken. You can see the members are broken completely through. So there's no question those trusses are broken. But since this is going to go to a legal challenge to try to get my money back from this guy, I did what any reasonable person would do. I brought in a third party. So I came out here on Tuesday and I met with another contractor, really great guy, local contractor out here. And I talked to him, and he came out and he looked at it and he gave me some pointers, some direction. But what he ultimately said was, you got to talk to the county building department because they're going to be the ones that are going to have to sign off on this. And so you really should get them out here and see what the county building department has to say. I met with the chief building inspector for my county, as well as the head of the building department for my county out here on Wednesday morning. And they came out and they inspected it. And then I met with them and we walked through all of the options. and we kind of covered everything, and the end result of that inspection, and the most important one being that bottom plate, has to be pressure treated. There's no way around it. There's nothing else you can do, because there is not a vapor barrier all the way to the edge of the concrete, and because the grade is so close, that board has to be pressure treated. There is nothing you can spray on there that will meet the code. There is nothing you can do to that board that will meet the code other than a pressure treated board. So for that reason, that item of the default has not been cured, and it is still in default. The trusses, as they pointed out, have completely broken members. There's boards that are broke all the way through, and they are not repaired up to the standard industry building practices, up to the standard code, and they don't have an engineer stamp on their repair. Because of that, the trusses are still a failure of meeting the code, and he is still in default on that. They did come out and set a bunch of anchors, as I had mentioned. However, there's supposed to be an anchor every 6 feet, and there's one way over there, and then we go about 12 feet to that next one, because the 6 foot on center would be the middle of the door, and so they didn't put one there, but they're supposed to put one on each side of the door. And then they did the exact same thing back on the laundry room, mudroom door on that wall. So because of those reasons, we're still in default on the anchors, we're still in default on the bottom plate, we're still in default on the trusses, and we're still in default on the front wall. Having all the nails that hold the zip system in are over penetrated, and the inspector looked at it and the inspector agreed these are too far in. Now the panels should be able to be reused, because you can just put new nails and then put a piece of zip tape or liquid flash or something like that over top of them and seal them, so we don't have to necessarily waste the zip board. So that's a good thing, because zip board's expensive. Additionally, the inspectors pointed out something that I was not previously aware of, and that was that these trusses are missing the code required securement. So that can either be a hurricane strap or what are called timber lock screws. And those are, it's like a 6-inch lag screw that goes up through the bottom plate, up into the bottom cord of the truss, or rather up through the top plate of the wall into the bottom cord of the truss. And that gives the roof assembly uplift protection. So it secures the roof to the walls, so that in the event that we get high winds, because we are in southwest Missouri, we do get tornadoes out here. In the event we get a windstorm or a tornado or something, it's less likely that the roof is going to get peeled off because it's properly anchored to the walls. So that's really important. So we have 4 things from the building inspector sheet that say this house is not being built to code, and I have that in writing, signed off by them on Wednesday. Now, remember, my framing contractor had until the end of the day on Thursday to complete curing the default. So we had to wait out that clock. Now, in the 10 days that my framing contractor had to come out and cure the default, they sent 2 guys out here, and they spent a total of 4, maybe 5 hours out here working, and they swapped out the big headers and they drilled some anchor bolts. They did not make any other substantial effort to cure the default. Nothing to fix the trusses, nothing to fix the zip system, nothing to fix the pressure treated board, nothing to secure the trusses. And so as a result, per the letter of my contract, that contract was automatically terminated because they were in default for more than 10 days. That contract is automatically terminated effective Thursday at midnight. The next step, obviously, is to send him a notice of termination, which at 10:04 p.m. last night, he was served with that notice of termination, which bars him and any employees, contractors, contacts, or anybody associated with him in any way are not allowed on the property. It informs him the contract has been automatically terminated, and it demands a full refund plus damage. I'm not going to go into any details necessarily on the legal situation because, again, ongoing legal proceedings as far as that goes. But I did want to bring you guys an update because basically after my last video, everybody said, oh my gosh, you've got to meet with an attorney. You've got to talk to an attorney and figure out what you can do to go after this guy. And I did that. I met with an attorney, and we are taking steps. And at this point, this is going to be the last update where I talk about anything regarding the legal proceeding with my ex-framing contractor. I'm not gonna put anything on YouTube that could possibly give this framing contractor a reason to deny or any kind of a defense against my lawsuit. So for that reason, this is the last update. The short version is, yes, I am working with an attorney. Yes, I am suing him. Yes, I am going after him for all of the money that I had paid and $17,000 in damages, assuming that this lumber was paid for. And if it's not, and it turns out I have to pay that bill, then we'll tack that onto the damages that I'm going after him for. That is the end of my good friend, John, and Pink Flamingo. They are no more. They're not a part of this story anymore. That's it. They're not a part of this anymore. We have a crane coming out on Monday morning, assuming the weather holds, which it should. We're not expecting any issues for Monday, and we are going to get this whole thing taken down. So trusses are coming off. These trusses over here on this end that are not there, that have not been repaired to code, those trusses are going to be just set aside. They're going over into that scrap pile right over there. And all the other trusses kind of coming down through this end of the house are all just going to be set aside over, I don't care. They're gonna come off and be set aside. The bad ones are gonna be set off in the scrap pile. I have ordered new trusses. Those new trusses should arrive here. Well, obviously it didn't arrive here today, so I expect probably Monday or Tuesday, depending on what the weather looks like and depending on my framing crew and how that all shakes up. I do have an Amish crew that's coming out. I have gone through all of the proper hoops to vet this new company and vet that crew. So the new crew is coming out. We're going to take all this apart on Monday. They're off for a butchering on Tuesday, and then they have to go and finish up another job. The company that I hired is pulling them off of their other job to come out to tear this down, so that the crane is the limiting factor here. So the crane is coming out Monday. The crane is coming out Monday morning. They're pulling the framing crew off the job that they are currently wrapping up to come utilize the crane on Monday. That framing crew is off on Tuesday for a butchering, and then that framing crew is going to go back to their other job, wrap that up Wednesday, Thursday, and we are likely going to have a full crew back and start putting this thing back together on Friday. So it is my expectation that the next video that I bring you, we will see some real change. Obviously, as you can see behind me, it's all cleaned up. So we got all the wood scraps out. We got all we got as many of the nails as I can picked up. We collected all the wood scraps from around the building. We put everything in a pile. And by we, I mean me and my 7-year-old, because it's really hard to find good help these days. This area is clean and it is prepped for the new framing crew to come in. Like I said, we are tearing this thing down. We are out of the contract with the old framer. We are suing the old contractor, and we are going to get this thing back on track and actually get this house built, which is super exciting news. So that's kind of the update. That's all I really have for you guys. I really appreciate the support that you guys have given me since I started posting these videos. There are going to be more of these videos. I am going to keep bringing you update videos. I'm shooting for weekly at this point and keep updating you as far as the progress and the hurdles that we're going through with the construction of this house. But like I said, this is the last video where I'm going to talk about any of the legal proceedings until those legal proceedings draw to a close. So ultimately, we are going to get this house built. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know. I have no idea what this is going to look like. I don't know. We are out of our rental or our lease expires on the rental that my family's living in I'd have to do the math. Something like 51 or 52 days at this point. It is unlikely that this house is going to be done in 51 days. But we are going to do everything we can to get as close to being done someday. Hopefully, before too long, this house is done and we can move in. But that is where I'm going to wrap this video up. I just think that this is a really terrible situation, and as I've said in my comments 100 times, this is 100% my fault. I didn't vet the company, I didn't read the contract well, and I'm the one who handed over the check. There is no getting around that. That's it. That's all there is to it. And that sucks, and I've learned a lot. But also, criminal fraud is still illegal. It is still wrong. These people still took advantage of me. That's where I'm gonna wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully the next video is some real progress other than just cleaning, but that's where we're at for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.